What is going on, everybody? My name is Northy, and today we're here with a very, very late round review for round 19. This round going to be very, very interesting. Already off to a very big start, I'd say, especially for some of my top team. Top 4 is going to be a little bit interesting. Top 18 has already started really, really well, and Star Powers, I'm not too sure if that's started just yet for me. However, it will in about 10 minutes from now, as North Melbourne are playing Carlton first up in 10 minutes, so I may go through this video fairly quickly. However, we are starting this one off with the Star Powers. I've made a very few changes here. I have kind of tried my best to adopt that mindset of don't change on what works, or make the changes very minimal, because otherwise you end up changing everything. You don't rely on players too much, and you end up screwing yourself over. So I've stuck with Brodie Grundy. He's had a 95 point or 90 point performance last night, so he was alright, but that gives me 180 points here, which is definitely good, considering most of the players I have here. The only green I have is Brodie Grundy, and as much as I'd love to have a Jack Steele, it just isn't going to happen. But Super is probably my best at the moment. I put Clayton Oliver in again, had a really, really good last week. It was between him and Josh Kelly last week. Ended up going with Clayton, and that worked out well for me. Future last week, if I can remember, I'm pretty sure I had Jacob Hopper. I'm pretty certain Jacob Hopper was the guy last time, but Rising, we had Jordan Ridley. And I've gone with Taron Thomas this time. Again, I said to myself, I should stick with what works, and then from there, make minimal changes. This is my minimal change. I'm switching up Ridley with Taron Thomas, as Taron is starting to really ramp it up now, getting a lot of touches and playing that midfield forward role. Now that North Melbourne seem to finally, thank goodness, be getting their act together and, putting up some good numbers both back and forward. It's, good to have someone, a midfielder at least, in the Rising, someone who may be able to get 100 points. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I've stuck with David Mundy. Had a really, really disappointing week last week. However, I trust him to be big again this week. We'll see what happens, because he usually does very, very well. So I'm going to just say that last week was a one-off week, and hopefully we'll be able to do better than the 546 we got last time, after an okay start with 180. If Clayton can get 200 points for me, that's even bigger. We'll see what happens though, because last week it was the Rising and it was the Legend that let me down, I think. So we'll see how it goes this week, hoping for some good numbers. But we go over to top team, top 4. You can see here, still haven't made any changes. Right now, the only change I wish I could have made now is Jack Crisp, because I've got him in my top 18. I've had him in there for ages, but Jack Crisp, only with 58 last week. Yeah, he came out with 100 plus, 110 plus, I think. And he played awesome last night. Huge ball winner, and just the amount of intercept marks and really influential marks he had last night. So, keep Collingwood at bay with Port Adelaide for most of the night. I know they didn't win, but they kept him at bay. And so that's why I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't switch him up. But at the same time, Rory Laird's been working for a really, really long time. I'd expect him to get over 100 points again. We'll see what happens, though. So I'm not terribly disappointed. I knew that the choice was very unlikely, especially considering Rory Laird has worked so well as of late. But I've kept Jack Steele in, I've kept Brodie Grundy in, and I've kept Marcus Bontempelli in. Marcus Bontempelli is probably the only one on the chopping block for me right now. We'll see what happens. We'll see what he does this weekend. But Jack Steele has consistently remained at that second spot. He was second last week with 115. He was second this week with 125. So I'm hoping for this weekend we will see a top spot for Jack Steele, as he really does deserve one. Although Sam Walsh did play amazingly, I'm putting Jack Steele there now. Brodie Grundy's probably been someone who's a little disappointing here and there, but Rowan Marshall I think was out. Lysette did okay. I don't think he did as well as Grundy, because Grundy just overall is a very tough matchup. Like, it's very tough to be as effective as Grundy is, because I think he had like 20 plus disposals last night, so which is huge for a ruckman. He had 23, 24 hitouts, something like that. But the almost the usual, just the hitouts probably was a little less than usual. But we'll see how he goes for the rest of the season. I'm not disappointed with Grundy's performance though. But Bontempelli is going to be the biggest question mark, as there have been a lot of players who have done really, really well this season. De Goey didn't have a 100-point performance last night, but he did start to ramp it up towards the end as he was put down forward, and as he got put down forward, the game kind of just slowed down. But yeah, last week we got 28th, I believe. Yeah, 28th, just missed the 400 mark. So hopefully we'll get another 400 and feel a little bit safer. But Brodie Grundy off to an okay start. We go over to top 18 over here. You can see some of the players that I've moved out. Callum Mills is not in because obviously the COVID protocol. I just assumed that he wasn't going to be playing, and I think I'm right with that. But Jake Lloyd is also still in there. I've kept Tom Stewart, because I think if there's any player that I've learnt this rule of, sticking with your guns, if there's any player I've learnt that with, it's Tom Stewart, because he grabs a lot of intercept marks, and he's a huge player when it comes. He plays that Stephen May role just a lot more effective with the marks. I've chucked Dyson Heppel in. I believe he'll probably get some of the most effective stats throughout the game. Obviously, he's not the best one. I was thinking about Tui, because Tui's been playing consistently well, but Heppel can have his games, and as you can see, he averages 78. He hasn't really gone lower than 70 for a while, I don't think, so I'm going to put Dyson in there. As I said, Chris had like 110 plus, which is huge. It is huge for the top 18. It is huge because, having players that get over 100 in general are just a huge plus. It gives leniency to other players like Grundy, like DeGoey. So between these three, we're already close to 300, which is really what we need, especially from a forward player. When we got forward players out here who really need to, make the most of their time, having DeGoey, having Chris, getting over 100 points is huge for us. I usually hope that the Ruckman can pull off 100 for us, but Grundy, I think, got to about 90, which is good enough. So between those two are 200, and then whatever DeGoey did, which he's been getting a lot of possessions as of late, and he's putting himself in a pretty good spot to stay in my team quite permanently. Only change up, I think, was, I can't remember who it was in here. It was Christian Petrarca. Tom Mitchell has just been really starting to put it into overdrive now. I'm hoping he can do the same this coming week. If he doesn't, I don't know what to say. That's just super unlucky. But I was thinking maybe Ollie Wines. But I just decided Tom Mitchell was probably the better option. He's a lot more reliable, I think, than Ollie Wines, even though Ollie's had a great season. Ollie was quite quiet for the first half, and that kind of, stunted anything he could have done in the second half. But Ollie still had a good game, but I'm not disappointed with my decision. I'm hoping Darcy Parish can have a big game. Took Miller can have a big game. Sam Walsh and Jack Steele, though, they have to be the two biggest ones. They have to. Sam Walsh, 126, Jack Steele 125 last week. That in itself, 251, that does numbers for the team. That does so much to help us out. And we came 57th, which is not bad considering the rest of the points and the rest of the players last week. So it's going to be interesting to see whether this team can bring it home. The only change I think I made was Jake Stringer's going in instead of Kyle Langford, because Kyle started to really wear off now, and Jake Stringer's starting to load back up now. So we'll see what he does in there. Jake Stringer's been put on the ball every now and then, so if Stringer can kick a couple goals, get over 75 points, I'll be happy with his performance. Marcus Bontempelli, I need him to give me a 90 plus, 100 plus game. If Zeeble can put in some work, same goes with Dangerfield, because Dangerfield, I think it was against Port, played out of his mind, so there's definitely a chance that Dangerfield will be able to put up a 100-point performance. But you can see, two very unlikely players last week were the only ones for over 100, so it's going to be interesting to see who does well, who reacts well. I'm hoping this team does numbers for me, and I can only assume they do so considering I'd say that they're all very high, possession getters. They may not be the most impactful players, but they definitely get a lot of possessions. They hold the ball the most in their team's respective structures, basically. So Jake Lloyd does big things in the backline. Same goes with Rory Laird. Jack Crisp was on ball in backline. He was doing a lot for Collingwood. Zeeble, he is listed as a forward, but he's played in the backline almost all the time for North Melbourne, and North Melbourne obviously need a decent backline, so Zeeble's always a good pickup for me, and I've pretty much had him in there all season, so I'm hoping this team gets me over the line. We haven't had a 10 in a while. I'm starting to lose hope. But maybe we'll see something big from these guys this weekend. I'm hoping for it. I truly am. But yeah, that's it from there. We go to the tips. I believe I've done my round 19 tips. Thankfully, I got those done, and if I can remember, I got Port Adelaide right, and I'll quickly mention them here so I don't have to go over to AFL because the game's just about to start. But North Melbourne versus Carlton, I'm pretty sure I tipped Carlton, but if I were to redo it now, I'd tip North. I don't know why. I just want North to win. I really want North to win. If I tip North and I'm just talking smack, then I'm very happy because I'd much rather North Melbourne over Carlton. But we checked the games here. I got my Port one right. I said Brisbane over the Suns. I think I said, I'm pretty certain I said West Coast over St Kilda. Can't remember. I said the Dogs over the D's. I said Adelaide over Hawthorn because I really need Hawthorn to lose. I said Geelong over Richmond. I said Sydney over Fremantle. And I said Essendon over GWS. So, let's hope that the tips go well for me this weekend. If they don't, oh well, there's nothing I can do. But this has been a very, very rushed video. I apologize for the really rushed format of it all. However, I'm hoping I gave you an insight as to what I was thinking. I'm hoping the team does big things for me. Yeah, a few changes here that I think if they can boom rather than bust will get me over the line, and I'm really hoping that goes well for me. So I appreciate every single one of you who watched this video. Hope you enjoy the next 2 days for the games. Try and enjoy them as much as you can, because I sure will be. And I'll see you all hopefully next Monday. I think Monday, hopefully, for the review. So I appreciate every single one of you who tunes in, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.